Hello, AV friends. Welcome to Chair, the podcast where I sit down with the incredible leaders driving innovation and community within HETMA, the Higher Education Technology Managers Alliance. I'm Erin Marmoran, the chair of HETMA's board of directors, and I'm excited to bring you into conversations that go beyond the day-to-day of technology management. In each episode, we'll explore not just what our committee chairs do for HETMA, but who they are as people, professionals, and leaders. We'll dive into their career journeys, the moments that shaped their perspectives, and the vision that drives their work in higher education technology. Most importantly, we'll connect their stories to the themes and challenges that matter most in our community right now. These voices behind the initiatives, programs, and innovations that make HETMA the vibrant professional organization it is today. They're also colleagues, mentors, and friends who have fascinating stories about finding their purpose, navigating their careers, and building the future of educational technology. Whether you're a longtime HETMA member, considering getting more involved, or simply curious about the people who dedicate their time to advancing our profession, these conversations are for you. So settle in and let's go chair to chair. In the chair today, I have Tim Neviska from Kenyon College, who is the membership committee chair. Thank you for chatting with me today, Tim.
Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. So let's start with your connection story. How did you first discover HETMA and what made you decide to get involved?
Well, I distinctly remember hearing about HETMA on the Rave launch back in 2021, maybe, so I think. But it was definitely the Rave launch. And what really stood out to me at that time was, hey, here's this group that is advocating for the higher ed AV vertical, and there wasn't anything like that before. And being at a small college that has had a lot of problems with being able to talk to integrators effectively, to talk to manufacturers effectively, I thought the mission of HETMA is something I need to explore.
I love that. I love that. And it's one of the wonderful things about HETMA, if our listeners are not aware, that we are a free to join organization. And that is something that has been very important to us from the beginning, just to make sure that those schools who are smaller and have smaller budgets, or hey, even big universities like mine, those dollars always count. So it's really, we have to be very selective about the kinds of organizations that we can be involved in because there are dues, but it's great to be able to eliminate that barrier of entry.
Very true. And the first HETMA event I went to, I discovered that, hey, there are other people here just like me that are at small colleges having the same problems that I am. And so I knew that I had found the right place.
Absolutely. It's I know Mike Peterson has said in the past that, when he's found his people, and that is absolutely a feeling that I got when I started getting involved with HETMA.
So,
yeah. So tell me about your role at Kenyon College, and how has community building, how does it show up in your day-to-day work there?
well, so my title kind of describes a little bit. I'm the Senior Audiovisual Solutions Manager. That's a long title for saying that I handle events, pretty much any event on campus. It's me or me with someone else. Generally, these days it's been a team of freelance people. And now I'm pretty much exclusively Tier 3 support in the classrooms. So we have folks in the classrooms, but they don't touch events. So I get the calls after they can't come up with a solution using their training. So that's the main thing that I do here. As far as community, I started here at Kenyon, well, it would be 17 years the day after Labor Day. So, and it was a new role. They had never had a person really dedicated to the classroom mission or to events. And my first couple of weeks was just filled with reaching out to other people around campus to find out, okay, what do you do with events? Are you the facilities person who comes in and sets the room up? Do you touch AV at all? The big events, we have 5 big events every year. I met with the person who coordinated those events and said, well, who does this for you? And then I found out, well, it's an outside company. I said, okay, well, let's see what you're getting for your dollar. And found out, looking at our biggest event, which was commencement, and back then it was recording the commencement ceremony, putting it on DVD, making copies of the DVD, sending it out to the graduates. And I looked at the recording from the producers that had done it for the 3 years previous, and I said, wait a minute, how much did you pay for this? There are no chapters on these DVDs. And I started looking at it as a consumer, as a prospective Kenyon parent, and said, look, if I'm going to watch this, I'm going to watch the whole thing through maybe once or twice. But when I go back to look at it again, I'm looking for where my kid is on the screen. And if I have to scroll through that to find it with no chapters, that you're what are you paying for here? So we started doing it in-house from that point on. And we've pretty much done the big events ever since then. But I've, again, being in a small school, our budgets are pretty limited. In the early days, it was a lot of rental equipment to pull it off. But I've also reached out to departments on campus that might have some stuff laying around at that time of the year that they're not using, like our film department, and said, hey, I don't really need to buy a camera jig, but man, I'd like to use one on this commencement. So can I borrow yours? And so, just breaking down silos and barriers. And at this point, I'm pretty well known by everybody around campus because I'm at every event.
That's awesome. It's kind of it's a blessing and a curse to be like the face that people recognize when it comes to things like that. But it's wonderful that you have become such a known person within your college community.
Yeah, our former vice president of our division used to say that he would meet people that he didn't know, and he had been here for longer than I. And when he would tell him, well, I'm the vice president of the division, like, oh, you work with Tim. It's like, yeah, I work with Tim. So, but sometimes that was the only person within our department that people knew. And it was because I'm out there at every event.
Absolutely. And now everybody all in the higher ed AV space will be like, oh, Tim. So what is it about the membership chair position that drew you to run for that?
Well, I guess full transparency, I self-nominated myself for a different role. And the person who was in the membership role last year who handles elections reached out to me and said, well, I have you down for that, but there are a couple of other positions where I don't have a lot of candidates yet. And so would you be interested in throwing your hat into one of those? And I didn't know what any of them were, really. I said, sure, put me down for where the need is. And so that's really how it happened.
Yeah, That's the thing about HETMA is that we're still growing and learning and expanding the roles of all of these positions. So yeah, so it's really not a surprise to myself, at least, that no one would really automatically go, "Oh yeah, membership chair. That's what I want to do. That's what I want to be."
It takes me back to years and years ago. I played soccer, and for years, I was the goalie. And I was good at it, but I didn't really want to be back there. I wanted to be out scoring goals. But for the good of the team, I was in the goal because the second string person wasn't as good at being a goalie as I was. And he actually liked it better, but it worked better for me to be in the goal and him to be out doing, other stuff. So you go where you need to be.
I certainly appreciate a utility team player. So with this month, the HETMA theme is merging lanes, connect to grow, and so a lot of that is about making those connections, building that community, which is why I selected the membership chair to be the chair person of the month. And so, can you think of a moment uh, when connecting with someone that affected your career trajectory?
Yeah, I mean, the first job I had in the AV world came after a short period of time where I was working some temporary jobs. I wasn't really sure what I wanted. I really, my goal after college was to get into radio. And I found out very quickly that I could get a radio job, but I would have to work two or three other jobs to pay my bills because there wasn't any money in it. It was going to be in a small town. I'd have to work my way up to a place where I could actually make a living at it. And I didn't have the connections. So I worked for as a DJ in nightclubs and for private parties for years, and became the operations manager of that. And then had a small child at the time, and working till 2 o'clock in the morning, it wasn't real good. So I decided to leave that world and then started working these temporary jobs, and was applying for other work, and I applied for a job in the AV world, and I, put in my application, didn't hear anything. I was getting desperate. A friend of mine worked for a place that had a opening for a security guard job. I'm like, well, okay. So I went, and the first night on the job, I was like, this is the worst job I've ever had in my life. I cannot take this.
Oh no.
But I need the money to pay the bills. It was on a Thursday night. The next night was a Friday. And so I got to work 5, 6 o'clock in the evening, and a phone call came in that evening when I was not at home. Back then it was an answering machine, not a cell phone. And the person hiring for this AV job wanted me to come in. And so, needless to say, I did not go back to that security guard job again. And I don't know that I ever would do that. I'd have to be really, really desperate at this point. It was the most boring thing ever.
Oh goodness.
But the person that hired me, probably the best boss I've ever had in my life. And he's gone now, but he saw something in me, even though I had no real AV company kind of experience. But he saw from the jobs that I had had before and experiences that, yeah, I think you'll fit in here.
So was there an early mentor or peer connection that, impacted how you thought about professional growth?
Yeah, I think again it was probably that first boss. His name was Russ Pilcher. I'll never forget Russ. He, he looked at me and said, "Look, you know, what you've done in your previous roles, those skills will suit you well here." And it turned out, yeah. I mean, I was on the job for a couple of weeks when he said, "Well, how about you become the service manager now? How about you do this?" Wait a minute. I don't know anything about, and there were some parts of that organization. I mean, we did security camera installations and head end systems in hospitals and hotels. And I mean, it was all new to me. He said, but it's the same, just a little bit different. So trust me, you'll be fine. And I was. And my biggest, if I could go back in time, a big regret is that Russ was toward the end of his career, and so I was probably less than 2 years in with him when he decided to sell the company to a competitor. But I would love to be able to go back in time and work longer under his tutelage.
Yeah, it's amazing when you find those people that you have those connections with, and oh yeah, to be able to look back and go, oh, I wish I had more time to have just absorbed everything from them.
Exactly.
So, how has your approach to networking and building relationships evolved throughout your career?
Well, I think you find the people who are good at what they do, and you seek their counsel. We can't all be experts at everything. You know, I like to think that I'm one of those in AV and a lot of other things. I'm sort of one of those jack of all trades. I can do a lot of this stuff, but there's somebody better at one of those roles than I'll ever be. And you find those people and you seek them out. And in the AV world, as just like in the hospitality world, I mean, over the years, I've done a lot of work in hotels and event centers and things like that. The faces are the same, but they change jobs. One week you see them at the Marriott, the next week they're over at the Ramada or something. But you've made connections with them in those other places. Same in the AV world. Somebody you work with now moves on to a different role, and you can keep in touch with those people. Maybe there's an opportunity that they'll provide for you down the road, or that you might provide for them. My number one freelance person is a guy that I worked with 34 years ago. We worked at the same company. He went on to start his own company. And over the years, I have kept in touch with him. When I've needed to rent equipment for jobs, I've rented from him. He's sort of semi-retired at this point, and most of the work that he does now is coming to freelance for me because he likes to have that experience and keep, kind of keep refreshed with what's going on. We recently purchased a video wall here at Kenyon, and we've been using that. And, it was the first time I'd ever assembled a video wall, first time he'd ever assembled a video wall. But again, our skills transferred. It was like, yeah, this is sort of like, wiring this. And so as you go on and you find people that you can talk to, that speak your language, that see things the same way that you do, your network just keeps getting larger and larger because those people know people. And even if I reach out to somebody in my network and say, well, I'm having a problem with this. Well, I don't know anything about that, but so-and-so does. So, yeah, I encourage people, build that network.
Absolutely. I really like what you said about seeking out those people who are, who are better than you or know more than you, or smarter in that subject that maybe you don't quite get. That is, an excellent way, because we don't know it all. And especially so many of us in AV are kind of the jack of all trades, and we know a little bit about everything, but not everything about something. So
And that's, shameless plug for HETMA. That's where HETMA comes in, because you've got a built-in network right there. And I've met some amazing people through HETMA. So,
fantastic.
if you're
Yeah.
not a
So
member, you should be.
absolutely. So yeah, as the membership chair for our listeners, kind of paint a little bit of a picture of what the membership chair actually does for HETMA. It's more than just counting numbers, right? I mean, I know
Right.
that we're
Well,
we're we're pushing for this big number of 10K this year, but there's more to it,
I,
right?
yeah, I'd say the membership chair position is sort of an evolving position. We're tasked this year for driving the vehicle to the 10K mark. And I think that to get there, we need to work maybe on some of the structure of the membership committee, and how can we leverage people that we already have in the organization. I mean, we're already over 3,000 strong. As Joe Way has said, if each of us just ask two friends to join, we're almost there. But it's not all about numbers. It's the membership is going to be about the onboarding procedure, helping people find their way through HETMA. I mean, if you just go on the site right now, you're like, wow, there's a lot of stuff going on here. Where do I start? Well, start at that little place that says, start here. And it kind of guides you through. And then you can put some faces with the names and kind of figure out, well, what is this advisory thing? What's an approved program? What are these things? And you can find out maybe there's something there that you've been looking for all your life. And but onboarding into HETMA is sort of like getting a new job. You don't know what you're doing the first day. You don't know who to talk to the first day. But pretty soon you'll figure it out. And that Friday happy hour once a month, that's a good place. No pressure, just sit down online, just a Zoom call, and get to know some people.
Yeah. That is like my favorite day of the month, I have to say. It's the HETMA Fridays is what my family calls it, and it is always a busy day between the general membership meeting and then the happy hour. But I absolutely look forward to it every month. But you were so right, because there's one thing about, sure, we can get the numbers, we can show a QR code, we can get people to sign up for the community, but it's that onboarding process, I think, that really helps keep people in the community and keeps them engaged and keeps them coming back. So yeah, I appreciate that you had brought that up. And so, what do you see as the biggest barriers for people when it comes to engaging with a professional community such as HETMA?
Well, again, I think it's sort of that nervousness that comes with not knowing anyone. Like I said, it's kind of like starting a new job. You it's a lot easier if you've joined an organization where you already know somebody, and chances are, if you go to the site, you probably do know somebody that's already in HETMA, and maybe they're just one of those HETMA people that needs to be a little more involved too, and maybe having two people who are not quite as involved as they could be, we'll get them both involved because now we're doing this together. So I think that's maybe it's a strategy is find a friend.
Absolutely. And especially since I feel like people in AV tend to be somewhat on the introverted side. And so I can see how it could absolutely be a little scary to step into a situation where you don't really know anybody. But I am around and I am super friendly and I am always willing to help people out. If you don't recognize anybody on the community, just reach out to me and I'll make some connections for you. All right, Tim. So tell me, can you tell me about a time when you witnessed someone's aha moment about the value of being a part of HETMA?
Wow. The first thing that comes to mind, and I'll do kind of another shameless plug, but if you go to the higher ed AV site, there's a recent article that I wrote that you might want to read about my experience at Infocom. So I point you that way, but I don't know that I can think of like an aha what witnessing an aha moment as much as maybe it's almost a daily thing. Like I see members helping each other out. I know when I came to Infocom this year, it was the first time I'd met most of the folks in person, and just the looks on the faces of the people at the booth were like, I found my people here. Here's where I belong. And I think for higher ed people who have never been to Infocom before there wasn't like this safe space to go to, a place where you could just be yourself and interact with others. It was a lot of walking around, and I mean, Infocom can be very daunting. It's so big, and there's so much to see, and it's like a circus or something in some ways. It's just so much going on, and yeah, having your tribe there to help you manage it was, and I just saw the looks on the faces, and I think maybe that was all aha moments. Here I am. I'm not lost here.
Yeah. And I second reading that Tim's article on higher ed AV media because when I read it, I felt that because I was like that is exactly kind of how I felt on at my early days going to Infocom and not really feeling like I necessarily had that place in this AV professional world. I was just an end user, and it is glorious the difference that is now. when attending a show like that as someone from higher ed.
And if you've not been in the AV world for a long time, I would recommend going to maybe a smaller show first. A regional show, a HETMA road show, one of the integrators shows, something like that, just to kind of get a feel for how these things work. And you might be ready for Infocom after that, but I mean, it's kind of shocking.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of like drinking from a fire hose. If you've never if you're going to Infocom and you've never been exposed to some of those like smaller shows, because yeah, it's a lot.
It is a lot.
And then it's amazing that thinking I finally got a grasp of Infocom, and yes, it's a lot, but I've learned how to manage it. And then I went to ISE, which was even bigger. And I can't imagine how some of the people from the other side of the globe, where ISE is like their only show, that maybe they they haven't been able to go to like a smaller Infocom
Yeah.
first, and that's like, holy cow, 8 halls of all of the things. But yeah, I like that strategy of potentially going to those local things first.
Yeah. Yeah. Work your way up to it.
Right. And a great plug for HETMA Red shows. We're having one in Nashville in October, I believe the 27th. It's right at the beginning of EDUCAUSE. So for anybody who's heading their way to EDUCAUSE, make sure that you attend the HETMA Road Show. But so yeah, getting back on track. How do you balance welcoming newcomers while also nurturing the long-term members?
The first thing is, in HETMA, there's absolutely a place for anybody, whether you're new or you've been in the business for forever. And there are plenty of committees within HETMA that need voices other than some of us who are already committee chairs. And new voices that haven't been heard. And that's, that was one of the things that drove me to HETMA, was this is a place where maybe my voice can be heard. And so, but you always, all organizations are kind of like that. I mean, I'm involved in a couple of organizations outside of work that, yeah, we have some folks that have been with us for a long time. We're looking for younger folks to step in because, face it, we're not always going to be around. And one of those organizations, we just recently lost pretty much our visionary, our leader, who had been with the organization for 60 years. But he had the foresight to say, look, we need to start getting younger people in the organization. We need to start training people. They're going to take this to play. You guys are going to take this to places that I never even thought we could do it when I'm gone, for whatever reason. And so, don't think because you don't have the experience that your talents, your message aren't valid. They certainly are.
Absolutely.
And you're seeing it everybody sees things from a different point of view. I mean, you might be in a small college, you might be in a big college, you might have a very limited role doing a certain kind of task and nothing beyond that. but that also might be a reason why you need to explore someplace like HETMA and see, well, what does everybody else do?
Yeah, there's so much value in getting the diverse perspectives because yeah, it's so easy for all of us to kind of just always see things in one at one angle, but then when you look at it from a different way, there could be a completely different answer.
Right. I mean, if you're at a big college with a huge budget, sometimes that comes with huge challenges, but it also sometimes comes with the easy way out of situations. Sometimes is to just throw money at it, and
Right.
and I've never had that situation in this role, so so I find ways to save the college money at every turn, and without sacrificing quality. And I've found a lot of products through HETMA that help me do that.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of HETMA's become a bit of a time saver in some respects because I can trust that other people have tried out certain pieces of gear and that saves me the time from having to do it myself.
Right, for good or bad.
Right.
Like, yeah, that sounds real good, but it doesn't really work, or it works great in this application, but not that one. And right, it saves all of us a lot of time.
Yeah.
Time is the one thing you can't buy.
Absolutely. So what's been the most rewarding part about being a HETMA member so far?
I guess the most exciting thing is seeing its growth. I don't know that anybody 6 years ago would have thought that would be where we are today, and then to have the aspirations to be at 10,000 by essentially Infocom next year. I mean, that's a big reach, but I think it's completely doable. But we don't just need numbers. We need people who are active and involved. But I'm excited because I think that those people are out there. I mean, I don't think we've even touched the surface of higher ed, let alone our, corporate partners and the integrators. I mean, there's a lot. There are still people who say, "Tell me about this HETMA thing. What is HETMA?" And then there's another segment, because we're involved with it, we think, well, everybody knows what HETMA is.
Right. Yeah.
No, not necessarily. And that's our job, is to keep knocking down those walls a little bit.
Yeah. So how would you measure the success of membership but beyond those numbers?
Well, I guess numbers are important, but I think maybe more than that, it's not just the raw numbers. It's, well, how many of those people are truly active members? How many products are we seeing go through our approval program? How many sponsors do we have at any one time? How many are participating in our road shows? There's a lot of ways we can measure that, and we can get some of that information back from those partners. Like, what do you see? What do you want? Are you getting value out of participating in in what we're offering you? And it's not, again, not just about that raw number. although 10K sounds great.
Right? Doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it sounds fantastic.
So for somebody who's listening who's been thinking about getting more involved in HETMA, what would you tell them?
Absolutely do it. I mean, if you're thinking about it, then you know you want to do it. I mean, there's no reason to wait. You know, you can start as slowly as you want. You know, join committees. You don't have to say anything the first time you go to a committee. I mean, I understand the whole thing about being introverted. You know, I don't know an IT or AV person that isn't, or very few, myself included. They ask me why I like to be in an office full of equipment, and, you know, there's nobody else in this space. Me and my gear, we're happy together. But I'm also equally as happy when I'm involved with the folks at HETMA. And, you know, I go to committee meetings now being the membership committee chair because I want to see what's going on in those other spaces. Sometimes I have something to add. A lot of times I'm just sitting there listening. And that's a good way to join. Or chime in with a question, you know, especially if something doesn't make sense to you. You know,
Oh, absolutely.
why are you doing it this way? And then maybe somebody on the committee will say, well, I don't know. This is just the way we've always done it, or this is the way somebody told us we should do it. Like, well, maybe there's a better way, and now you've found your place.
I love when we're challenged, when like that's when we come up with some of the really good stuff, is when someone's like, hey, I've got a way. They're like, yes, let's do it.
Exactly.
It's like, you have an idea? Awesome. You just volunteered to help with that initiative. But yeah, so what would be your advice for building the meaningful professional relationships beyond just like going around collecting business cards and stuff?
I think everybody wants to feel like they are a part of something or that they have value. And when you reach out to somebody with a question or a problem, you're validating them. You're saying to them, you know, I think you know something that I don't, and that makes you important in my world. So, you know, find reasons to reach out to that community. You know, there might be somebody that's part of your network and you think, wow, I really haven't talked to him or her for a long time. You know, find a reason to reach out. You know, maybe it's your manufacturer rep, and they haven't been around for a while. They've never stopped at your school, or it's been years. You know, just reach out to them. Yeah, you can find all the information you need on their website, but that doesn't keep that personal connection going. And I mean, I have in my phone a lot of the manufacturer reps, and you know, every once in a while, I just text one of them, hey, tell me what's going on, or hey, why haven't we seen each other for a while? You know, one company is one that doesn't partake in Infocom, so I wasn't able to see my person there, and I said, you know, it's been like since before the pandemic since we actually like were able to, you know, share a meal. Let's fix that.
I love that. I love that idea of you know, we don't have to wait for them to reach out to us all the time. Like we can reach out to them. And for anybody who might not know who their particular rep is for a company or whatnot, HETMA is a great place to ask because either they're already on the community or someone on the community will know who to reach out to.
And I know there's a lot of the HETMA folks that I've heard that maybe they're on a vacation or they're on a trip someplace because of work or whatever, and they're in an area, and like, you know what, that person's campus is not far from where I'm going to be. Let's find a way to just get together in person. So, as good as Zoom is, there's something about, having a cup of coffee or whatever with somebody and just, talking off the record.
Yeah.
And building that connection.
Absolutely. I love that. So looking ahead, how do you see HETMA's community continuing to evolve?
I think it's just going to keep growing from here. I really do. I think, first of all, we've got this goal that we've set. We also have seen a lot of global interest, and I think that's one place that is certainly ripe for growth. And hey, you need somebody to go to Australia, to find some members. I could probably do that. But even the North American market, we haven't even started. I think of our HETMA race to 10K, and I think of it as, and I used to do drag racing back in the day.
That's amazing.
We have only just shifted out of first gear. We really, the point after the light came down and we through first gear was really fast. We were really good at jumping out of the gate, but we need to keep that up, and we can grow it.
All right. So before we wrap up, what's one thing you wish people understood about the power of professional community?
Well, like being part of any community, it's better to do it with others than to go it alone. There's strength in numbers. Again, I'll link you back to the article. Read the article. If you have any questions, reach out. I'll explain to you in more detail. But so much that professional communities can help with. Professional advancement, certainly keeping up to date on what the trends are, the equipment, and all of that. I mean, none of us can look at every piece of gear, but we can trust others who, okay, you looked at this piece and I'm looking at this piece. Tell me about, tell me about the one you're using. And I'll tell you about the one that I'm using, and we've both just saved ourselves a lot of time and effort developing skills, or even learning. Okay, where do you look for classes? What classes have you found to be worthwhile? Which ones would you skip? Is it worthwhile having a CTS? Did it make any difference? I think it helps with confidence. Again, somebody. There are other people out there that have your back. Collaboration, certainly, but we've touched on this several times. But it's like a sense of belonging is I think maybe more than anything else. Is that, people with a common interest speak a common language. I think that our professional community is unique because, although we're AV, we're very kind of a specialized niche for AV. But there are others that are very similar that you might be in one of those verticals and you find that, wow, they have the higher ed people have the same exact problems and challenges that we do.
Absolutely. See, I ask the man for one thing and he gives me all of the amazing things. I absolutely appreciate that, Tim. So how can our listeners connect with you or get more involved in the membership initiatives?
Reach out to membership@hetma.org. That's my email address, and I'm also on LinkedIn, so you can find me there.
Well, thank you so much, Tim, for sharing your insights about the power of connection and community building with us today. To everyone listening, I hope this conversation has inspired you to think differently about professional community, not as networking for networking's sake, but as genuine relationship building that lifts everyone up. Whether you're someone who's been hesitant to get more involved or already active, but looking for ways to help connect others, remember that growth truly doesn't happen in isolation. Your next meaningful professional relationship might be just one conversation away, either in our online community, at a regional event, or even in your own campus hallways. The question is, are you ready to merge lanes and grow together? If today's conversation resonated with you, I'd love to see you put it into action. Introduce yourself to someone new in the HETMA community, offer help to a colleague, or simply show up for others in whatever way feels authentic to you. If you're thinking about getting more involved with HETMA, reach out to Tim and or myself, and we'd love to help you find your place in our community. So next month, we'll be exploring the theme, Life is a Highway, Build a System. And I'll have another incredible HETMA leader here with me. So make sure you're subscribed to the HETMA Presents channel. And, we're going to be ready to continue this journey of connection and growth. So until then, keep building bridges, keep showing up for others, and remember, we're all stronger when we grow together. I'm Erin Marmoran, and this has been Chair to Chair. Thanks for listening.
Thank you for tuning in to HETMA Presents. This show is a production of Higher Ed AV Media. Please visit higherEdav.com to learn more about this show and a host of others. The views expressed here are not necessarily those of our respective institutions, employers, or sponsors. We'll be back soon with another installment of HETMA Presents.